Bienvenidos a esta gran conferencia impartida por el Dr. Pavel Albores. Él es un graduado de la Universidad de las Américas, Puebla, en Ingeniería Química e Industrial. Cuenta con una maestría en Gestión de Administración Competitiva y un doctorado como jefe de operaciones por la Universidad de Berkeley en Reino Unido. Actualmente es el jefe del Departamento de Operaciones y Gestión de la Información en la Escuela de Negocios de ASTON y el examinador externo de la Universidad de Ulster. Es miembro del Consejo y Junta de la Sociedad de Investigación Operativa, también de la Sociedad Europea de Gestión de Operaciones y del Instituto de la Información e Ingeniería, entre otros. Ha trabajado con organizaciones gubernamentales, líderes en el campo de la preparación en 9 países como coinvestigador en un proyecto financiado por la CII. Ha participado en proyectos de investigación en las áreas de gestión del conocimiento en empresas extendidas y gestión de la cadena de suministro. También ha sido consultor en el área de modelo y simulación con varias organizaciones como la oficina del viceprimer ministro. Recibamos con un fuerte aplauso al Dr. Pavel Albores.
Buenos días. Voy a empezar en español y después me voy a mover a dar la plática en inglés. Bueno, quiero pedir una disculpa por eso, porque tengo ya 18 años en el Reino Unido, todo mi entrenamiento técnico ha sido en inglés y eso me cuesta trabajo encontrar todas las palabras, entonces bueno, aparte también para que practiquen un poco. Sí, se me disculpen. Thank you. First of all, I wanted to thank the hosting team, Virgiana, Eduardo, and Maria, and everyone else here who has been very, very kind to us in receiving us and being amazing hosts. We are here to learn. We are here to share what we do. We're not here to teach, we're not here to tell you how to do things. We're here to tell you the things we do and learn about what do you do here. As I was saying yesterday, I think there is a lot of synergy between our universities. There's a lot of similar approach of how we do things. So what we want to do is we want to share and we want to increase this collaboration as we go through forward. Okay? I'm going to talk to you about, the title of the presentation is the ASTON experience. I'm going to be telling you about the things we do to create the skills that will help our students become employers. And I'd like to hear from you what things you're doing here as well. So we can take that to us. It was very difficult to structure this presentation, I have to be honest, because that employability is something which we do like second nature. So we do that in everything we do with the students. So trying to sort of tease it out and explain specifically what is it that we are doing or what's a bit tricky. So this is to organize it in this area. So student experience, research, and collaborating with some organizations, which are the 3 pillars as I mentioned yesterday. Bit of background of the sort of already introduced. Something which I forgot to say yesterday, and I'm going to say, you have to mention this. I was actually born in Celaya. I left when I was 2 years old, but it's probably coming home for me here. I studied chemical engineering in Puebla, and then went to do my master's in competitive manufacturing, PhD in operations management, Strathclyde in Glasgow. And from there I moved to ASTON, and at the moment the head of the department for my sins. I'm also the director of a research center, the Center for Safety, into Safety and Security, and we do a lot of research into emergency management. How do you deal with terrorist attacks or flooding or earthquakes? And we have doing a lot of research, particularly applying mathematical modeling, logistics, supply chain management into this area. So my research areas are simulation, mathematical modeling, supply chain management, so a bit of logistics, relationship between organizations, and say disaster response. I have supervised a number of PhDs, so I was fortunate enough to have Oscar, my colleague, who's somewhere else in the university today. He was one of my students, and he was so good that I decided to hire him. I'm still at the moment supervising some other PhD students. I've got a couple of slides of apologies if you've already seen this yesterday. I know there are some new people here, and also to give you the context of where this talk is. So we are a highly rated business school. We have triple accreditation, EQUIS, AACSB, and AMBA. And so it's 1% of the business school in the world. We actually have that called the Triple Crown. Our research is, as I was saying yesterday, we are not doing a lot of basic research. We're doing research that helps organizations locally, nationally, internationally. I'll talk a bit about that, and my colleagues will go into more detail around those areas. But one of the characteristics that ASTON has is that the majority of our students take 1 year industrial placement, or 1 year placement, can be industrial or can be study. And this is something which we actually started in the UK a while ago. Now a lot of other universities are doing, but we are trying to move towards having 100% of our students going out for a year and working. And I'm going to talk about a bit more in detail about that. I have the Social Enterprise Award that Anna was mentioning yesterday. Yes, over here. And because it's about the experience, that's an experience, so part of that is the campus where we are. So we are right in the middle of Birmingham. We have had a lot of refurbishment and there's a lot of accommodation on campus. So you are guaranteed during your first year and your final year a place at a university accommodation if you wish so. And the idea is obviously that the first years you are getting new universities. Now, let me explain something about the UK system. To start with, the degrees there are 3 years. There's not 4 or 4.5 or 5 as we have here in Mexico. It's 3 years. Actually, at ASTON that becomes 4 because they do 2 years, then go on the placement, and then come back and do the final year. So obviously, and the other thing is that in the UK, a lot of people go away from home to go to university. So even if they have a really good university locally, they say, no, I think it's sort of part of the culture, part of the independence of themselves, of sort of trying to grow into adults. So they go somewhere else. So that's where the accommodation comes into play. The idea is always to have students close to university so they can attend lectures. They still don't. That's students everywhere. And you can see some of the other information here. That's our pool. It's a listed building which sort of protected status because of the architecture, the way it was built. I have to be to my shame. To say to my shame, it's been 13 years that I've been at ASTON. I've never been in the pool. So I was going to say, we have these 3 pillars. So we have learning, and teaching, research and impact, and business and community engagement. And that's how we drive the strategy of the university. Now this is something which I want to highlight because we don't not only say this. When you go for promotions, traditionally in the UK, universities have focused on research. You need to have your research papers, you need to have grant income, and that's what will get you to the next stage, so from lecturer to senior lecturer to reader to professor. At ASTON, we have the idea of promoting people when they demonstrate excellence in any of these areas. Okay, so we have now professors, which is the highest degree, that have gone through the learning and teaching route. My own personal last promotion was on business and community engagement. So that's how we structure both the promotion and reward system within ASTON, but also how I want to talk about the things we do to give those skills to our students. So I'm going to start with learning and teaching. And something which we are trying to do is being very close to organizations, being very close to companies. So what we do, one of the things we do is we have all these metrics that will get us out there in terms of how do we measure success, so the salary for students, how many of them are in employment, how do we are seeing in terms of teaching from outside bodies, so we have Scholar Award and some of these things you have seen yesterday. And something which I want to highlight is that the type of students that we get at ASTON are students to which we add a lot of value. These are students who maybe they are the first person in their family to go to university. These are students who maybe come from poorer backgrounds, and we have a huge drive of inclusiveness and trying to get people who traditionally wouldn't think of going to university. And with those students, we are sort of achieving a lot of successful metrics, so earning more than the UK average. So they can see the value of coming to us and having that degree. But obviously we need to do something to give that value so that the employers can say, well, yeah, actually, if he's an ASTON student, he's worth £10,000 more than the student from Birmingham University. They are worth more, obviously. So how do we go about developing all these skills? So I'm going to just talk to you briefly about some of these things we do. So we are very close to industry. So one of the things we do is we have an advisory board that drives the strategy, or that helps with the strategy of the university. So this is a group of around 12 people who are prominent people in businesses and organizations. So at the moment, Rob Brinkhouse is the chair. He was the CEO of a train company, Children Railways, and now works in Network Rail, which is basically the organization that is in charge of managing all the railways in the country. And then we have other people, and we have the managing director of Jaguar Land Rover, we have human resource vice presidents of international organizations, and so on. And we use them to guide us in terms of our strategy. How do we want to develop? What new programs? What new things we need to have? I'm not sure, do you have something like that here? Is there like an advisory board for the university or for the... By the way, if you have any questions at any point, just stop me and it will be a lot better than just okay. So that is quite useful. And as you can see, so this is a very, very high level. So the terms of the dean and the executive team, which I'm part of. And we meet twice a year with them. We present new initiatives, like some of the ones I'm going to show you later, and then we ask them, would you think something that you as an employer, you as someone who is in charge of a company of, I don't know, 10, 12,000 people, is this something which will be helpful for you? Mario, can you tell us speed? So some of the other things we do in terms of our programs, I will show you basically some of the programs we have in the business school. We try to equip, because we're in a business school, we try to equip our students with skills that are going to be helping them going out and making a difference in those organizations. And one of those ways in which we do this is to have that placement year. As I said before, they do 2 years, and then they go out for a year, and then they come back and do the final year. I will explain later a bit about how the classification of degrees works in the UK, which again, I've been there. I'm working at ASTON for 13 years, I've been in the UK system for 18. I still don't understand completely how that works, but I'll explain it so that you can see it. And I will say earlier, so ASTON is ranked second in the UK for postgraduate salaries. So people who come to us, particularly for postgraduates, they can see that the increase in salary, which is one of the metrics that they are looking at. These are some of the programs that we have. As you can see, there is a wide variety. Just to give you a sense of scale in terms of the business school, just the business school, I'm just trying to remember the latest figure. We have grown a lot in the last year, we have hired a lot of people. But I think at the moment we are around 160 members of staff, academic staff, about another 100 in terms of 120 in terms of support. So we have quite big groups. My own group, we have 30 academics. Anna's is bigger, probably about 40 in Europe, 50. Have to catch up. So there is a lot of expertise within the group, within the school. We do collaboration with other schools, as you can see here. So we have, for example, mathematics with economics, so people from engineering and applied sciences. So they do some of their courses with engineers and mathematicians, and some of them with us. We have business management and public policy, so that's the school of social sciences. Again, we have the department of politics, so they take some of their classes there. And we have a law school within the university, which is quite unique in the UK. That's because it's a law school which is focused on getting lawyers to help companies. Okay, so it's corporate law. There is all these areas of law. So it's difficult to study law here, but it's within the business school, which is something which is quite strange in the UK. So, as we said earlier, so they do displacements. Why we wanted to do this? Because I study in the Universidad de las Americas, and it's not a bad institution, but we didn't have that exposure. We had some sort of practices and social service, and I gained a bit of exposure to the world of work. But it's actually, when you get to work, you see is, you know the technical aspects, you know how to calculate, how to dimension a pump for a chemical plant, but you don't know about how to deal with conflict with colleagues, you don't know how to deal with that person who drinks all the coffee and never did anything for you. So that's, I think, all those things that are ways in which the real world works, yeah, and we, at least I didn't that. So what we try is we prepare our students for the world of work and make them more attractive to employees. And I will show you some statistics later about how many of them actually get a job from their placements. I saw something very interesting yesterday. We went to ALBORES, and they were talking to us about their project leaders, which I think is something which is similar to this, but it's quite interesting. So basically, students going to work for them for 5 hours or 5 hours a day while they're doing their studies. I think it's quite a big opportunity. So again, I would like to find out if there are any more of these programs that you have access here, and how you manage them. We have many professionals come to some of the more statistics later, but we put people in work in the UK, in Europe, abroad. I have supervised people who are working in a hotel in the Canary Islands, very nice. I've supervised people who are working in Chile, in Poland, in France, in the Netherlands. And they go there, obviously they learn about the job, but also they learn about the culture of the place, they learn for another language, it gives them that opportunity. So obviously when they come back, and you as an employer see them and say, well, yeah, you can work, obviously. You can work, you've done it for a year, you've done it in a strange place, you adapted and you were successful, that makes them more attractive for people to hire them. Placements are integrated with the degree, and they are assessed, and they count for 10% towards degree classification. This is what I'm going to explain to you. So we have these 3 years which they do at university. Now the first year doesn't count at all towards the classification of your degree, so towards your average. It doesn't count at all. I don't understand why. Why?
I think it's because we think that students don't yet know how to study.
Yes.
So, because they're moving to most students move town. It's the first time they're living away from their parents. And I think it's also that independence. So they're learning how do they live, and a lot of them spend, I think, too much time partying in there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of time going to the bars and the discos and not going to lecture. So yeah,
And then
is,
they learn.
but then they learn. Yeah.
They should go to lectures.
Eventually. So the second year counts for 15%. Okay, so that's getting a bit more into. Then there's the placement, which is 10%. So they go and they work for this organization. But they also have to do an academic piece of work. They have to do an essay using academic theory, analyzing a specific issue that that organization has. So at the moment I'm looking, I have, for example, a couple of students in Volkswagen, the headquarters in the UK, and they are looking at how they can use some inventory theories to manage spare parts for commercial vehicles. Should you want to have share any experiences they had on what projects students have done?
In the past, we have been done. Yes.
Wait. So they can
Okay. My students have looked into the procurement issues in the companies, looking into how, I would say, that inventory could be managed. Sometimes, various forecasting method, how the customer's demand would be, calculated, and how the production would be scheduled, that sort of things. Quite a practical problem our students looked at, and they tried to really come out with the solution which industry would be able to take away, and even able to apply it. So very real-life problem is being given to the students, and they work on it, and they find while they appeared for the job interview, they share that, and this helps them to be better employability compared to the other students.
I have had a wider range of students from different backgrounds because I'm in a different group. So I've had students who are some economics, finance and entrepreneurship. So we have students who are obviously studying economics, others are studying international business, and then those who are interested in entrepreneurship. So I've had students who are working in their family businesses, they've gone back, and then they've been able to see what problems there are in that business, and through their projects suggest plans to change them. So that's really bringing in the knowledge that they've learnt in the first 2 years and having that opportunity through that project to present something back to their business. Other students that I've had one student who worked for a hedge fund in London and was in the compliance department. So seeing how do you ensure that financial regulation is being implemented properly. So she did a project analysing what they were doing there. I had other students who've been working in marketing. I've got one this year who's working for the British Tourism Board and deals with their website. So he did a big project there, which was helping visitors to the UK buy football tickets. So there's a really wide range of projects, and it's really open depending on the placement and what interests the students as well.
Yes, and as everybody was saying, they go out and they do projects which have a big impact in those organizations. So they don't go as you think of internships. They're not making coffee for everyone else. Okay. I have a colleague. This wasn't one of my colleagues was had a placement student who was working with the managing director of Bing. He was in Microsoft. He was working with Microsoft, and this student was in charge of the deployment strategy for the whole world of Bing. So it's someone 19, 20 years old, and have that sort of opportunity. You can see how that is very attractive. Our strategy, going forward, is that 100% of students will have a placement. Okay, the ones who have sort of 75%. Because at university that means close to 2,000 placements. So you can see it's quite a big task of getting those placements. For those that come from overseas, that have a target of 35%. Not many of the ones that come from overseas, because fees are higher and the cost of living also. And says here, so we have the highest percentage of all UK universities which have students which are doing a placement according to data by the Higher Education Statistics Authority. You can see here. This is what they do. So they go for a year to work in the UK or overseas. So they can I'll explain it in the next slide. And these placements are usually paid. Okay. And what they pay is around £16,000 per year, and this normally is tax-free. All that goes to students, which is very, very good money. Consider for a pound, what at the moment, 25, 26 pesos. So they still have to pay some fees. We have a lot of experience of getting to know those employers. And these are different options. So they can do study placement. So some students could decide, for example, if we get to an agreement, decide to come to Celaya, spend here a year, study. Or they could have a work placement, as we say, so going to work for an organization at their offices. Or they could volunteer, or they could decide to do some teaching. Or you could have a combination. Many students do half and half, so they do a semester in a university and a 6-month placement at an organization. We have some programs. For example, we have something which is called International Business and Modern Languages. It's a combination of business and languages. And they have to do compulsory placement abroad. So they have to go to the country. So we have German, Spanish, French. Should we have Mandarin now? Remember. And we have now also the opportunity of them to do enterprise placement, so startups. So using that year to start up their own business. And Anna will talk probably more about the scaffolding and support that we provide for them. Obviously, we need to provide support to those students, and our Careers and Placement Office, this is what they do. So during the first year, we have employability modules. We have fairs, so we invite companies to come to us and present their offerings, their graduate schemes. During the second year, we help them start looking for the placement, so explain how to go about finding the placement, create their curriculum, their CVs, bring employers, help them with interviews, help them to assessment centers, how to do well in assessment centers. So we have a lot of online resources. We also have mock situations. So we bring a number of students and we sort of set an assessment center so they can know what to expect and they know how to react to those. And finally, sort of the preparation of placement. We have sort of intercultural awareness workshops and so on. So because our students are, first, well, they are very diverse in terms of the cultural background they have, but also they go to many places which are not the UK. So they need to learn this. And then during that particular placement year, we have support. Each one of us academics are tutors for a number of students. So this year we have 5, I think. That was how we allocated. And we are in charge of guiding them to that academic essay I was mentioning earlier. They also have a supervisor at the organization, and then there's the whole support team behind it. But anyway, if there's anything interesting that you want to take notes or everything, of course, feel free to take it now, but these presentations will be available for you as well. Some statistics. So, in terms of the business school, we have 883 students placed. That's 83%. Shall say we have 22 people in that office supporting the students. So it's a big department, which is careers and placements. It's a big focus of the university. So we work with a number of employers, so more than 1,000 employers. And you can see how much work this is. So they need to define a project, they need sort of contracts and everything, and we help them to do that. So some of the companies that our students go to. Some of them you might recognize, some of them you might not, but I will leave BP, Jaguar, BMW, what might be known. Marks & Spencer is a big department store, like Liverpool in the UK. And they go to these places and and work for a year doing one project or a number of projects only. Some people get to go to nice places. Unfortunately, we don't get to go and visit them. I wish, but yes, I think that's sort of Finland, Peru. That one I'm not quite sure where it is, but it looks like Austria, Germany probably. So did they get to see some really nice places? Now, again, why do we do this? Because it has been shown that students who do the placement are more attractive for employers. Okay, they're more employable, they earn more, they do better in the final year. Yes, I teach in second year and I teach in the final year. As I was saying, the difference between those two is massive. So the people in second year, they don't know what they haven't been in work, they don't know what order is coming from the client, they don't know what systems they use or the interrelationship between the different areas. They go out and they live that. They understand that now. They come back and it's a lot easier, a lot more rewarding to teach them. And so they develop as well at a personal level. So many people will go to a new place, they will have to set up on their own, live away from home or in a new country, they learn new skills. And during the placement, what we do is they have the essay, but they also have to do some reflective analysis of their practice. So each month, they reflect. So what did you do this month? What went well? What didn't go well? How did you solve it? What can you do different next year? And they go month by month. This helps them, so having that self-awareness. I always tell my students, I mean, the purpose of going to university is not to learn about simulation or supply chain management or economics. You will learn that, yeah, but the purpose of going to university is to learn to think. Because you go out there and you're not going to have a problem which is really neatly structured in the text. You need to learn how to structure the problem. You need to first understand many times what the problem is really, and then apply those that knowledge you have gained, solve that. So we try to do that with this. In terms of postgraduate programs, this is something which is similar. Again, masters in the UK are 1 year. So we have a bit less scope for them to go out and spend a year with the industry, although we do some work with companies. And we design these masters in close collaboration with organizations, with external organizations, with commercial organizations. And part of that, what we have done is we have put something which is called professional development and employability module. It's something in which we not only develop, we also document those skills that are useful. Okay? Because if you're learning about supply chain, that doesn't tell the employer that you know how to make presentations because there was a presentation in the module that you had to do, that you don't know how to write reports because there was a simulation which you had to carry out and write a report about that. So these modules are what we are putting there to help them. So again, some of our programs, the ones highlighted in red are the ones that are in my department, so analytics and consistent analysis. And I'll talk a bit more about the approach in which we do these things, okay? So we try to do a lot of learning by doing. Okay, rather than what I'm doing now, talking to you. We do that a bit, but we get them to do the stuff we want them to learn. Okay, I'll give you some examples. So, some of the ways in which we design our program, we have advisory board levels at the program, okay? So we have for business analytics, so we have the head of analytics from a bank, we have professors from other universities, we have someone from a hotels.com, if you heard, booking website, so they have a big analytics. So invited them to come and comment on the content of our program. So which modules, within the modules, what would they like to see? Basically say, what do we need to teach our students so that when they come out, they are employable by you. And you don't have to spend another 6 months training them. You will need to train them, because obviously there's a wide variety. But then we get them to incorporate that feedback. we do a lot of learning by doing. Okay, so for example, I teach a module on enterprise resource planning. You know what enterprise resource planning is? ERP, SAP systems. So it's not the most exciting of topics. I would go as far as saying it's a bit boring. But what we do is, we had one of our colleagues who worked in the company implementing an ERP system. So we convert that into a consultancy project for students. And they say, and I get my colleague to come because suddenly he was very familiar with the company, with the processes, with the products. I come and ask as a client. I say, you as a student need to find out whether he needs an ERP system, and whether, and then if they need, which system will you recommend? So they go through the whole process of finding out what the problems are, doing the process mapping, going out and talking to vendors, to providers, to see what offerings they have, and then selecting finally and recommending for that organization which system do they recommend that this organization uses. Now that's probably a lot better for them to learn than me talking for 3 hours in front of the screen. We have a lot of guest speakers coming from industry, come to talk to our students. And we use case studies. Sometimes we have challenges. So we have one of my colleagues, Chris Owen. He teaches a module on effective management consultancy. So it teaches students how to be consultants. So many of students will go and work for the consulting companies. And what they do is they have a challenge. He gives them £50. And he says you have to do something to multiply that money. And then at the end, whatever they earn, they donate to charity. But they come with some really wonderful ideas. Some people go around selling donuts, fair enough. But some people have set up upselling challenges. So you have these towers, big towers, so you pay some money and then you upsell. So it's quite interesting. It's part again, so that entrepreneurship, trying to get the ideas of what do we do. This is in terms of the professional development program, how it works. So the first part, sorry, I'm not sure if you can read that, but trying to develop some of those skills, presentation skills, effective team working, leadership. Then the second is during the modules in terms of report writing, case study analysis, critical analysis, time management. And then during the third part, they select one of these streams, which we have here, which is of going abroad to study for 2 or 3 months. Some work-based experience, like sort of mini placement, if you want. Or some business simulation skills. So we have some simulations that we run, basically saying, well, if you were running a business, this is all the things that you will need to do. And there is now a new one.
We're adding an enterprise option, so they can develop a business idea in their 3rd term.
Yeah, so basically, this is about, so the other stream is about entrepreneurship and trying to get them to say, well, you can also start your own business and start working with the support of the university. MBA, sort of similar, but not quite. Again, you can see some of the statistics here. We are very successful in increasing the salaries of our graduates. So they come to us after 5 years work experience. So you have 5 years to go into the MBA. If you have less than that, you can go into one of our other masters. And we are very successful in increasing the salaries from when they came to when they leave us. And they have something which we call the ASTON age. So what is it that's going to be distinguishing them from people who do MBAs at other places? And again, similar to the PDP for the master's programs, it's trying to develop sort of critical skills. You can see there's some of the skills, so negotiation skill, interpersonal skills. But those skills that normally they don't get taught. We teach the technical side, okay? We teach marketing, we teach the economics. We don't teach all those things. So we try to put that by bringing people, bringing consulting, bringing people who have been successful, mentors, and so on. Part 2 is about growing your networks, okay? So we have events in which we invite people, from local people, we invite alumni, we invite employers, we invite local government, and get students to do some of that networking, so one-to-one dinners, speaker events, very speed networking, and finally the project, which is what they do, sort of consultancy project. So they go and solve a problem for an organization. They normally do this in teams, so that they're developing that sort of team working capabilities, and they could be sort of having that project for a client, or they could be working on a business plan for a startup, or they could go and study with some of our partners. Because again, it's trying to develop all those employability skills and the way we do it. This is just going through sort of the other level. This is something which we also offer for students who don't meet the requirements to come to us initially. So we sometimes offer which is called a pre-master's program. So they can come to us and do a year in which we sort of get the skills up to a level in which they can go and study a master. So many times it's things about language, but also sort of they learn about sort of some business management processes and interpersonal skills. We have to deal with many cultures. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is a generalization, but for example, students from China, they come to us and they're very respectful, if you want, of the teacher. They are afraid of speaking up, they are afraid of asking, afraid of challenging. The UK system tries to sort of get those skills there, so it's quite difficult sometimes to get. And so sometimes what we're trying to do here is trying to get to say, no, this is fine. You can ask, you can say, well, actually, I don't understand, or actually, you know, you're wrong because I know this is my experience. I'm trying to do a bit of that. We also try to develop skills at the higher level. So we have some executive doctoral program. So we have, with non-nutrition, we have the PhD, Doctor of Philosophy. We have the Doctor of Business Administration, which is like the executive version of a doctorate. And here what we have is we have people who are working, mostly working in companies, come and do a doctorate part-time. And what they're trying to do is trying to have some contribution to practice rather than contribution to theory, which is normally be what a PhD. And we have sort of quite a healthy cohort, and we have started a program now in Hong Kong in collaboration with Kaplan there, trying to grow the number of BBA students. PhDs, again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop those skills. It's the same thing. So we're trying to develop skills that something which someone comes to do a PhD. Obviously, they're coming to business schools. Traditionally, people who do a PhD will go into academia. But we're in a business school, so we want to develop, again, skills that will be helpful if they want to go into the commercial world, into consultancy. So we have a lot of people who have done that, and we try to develop those skills as well. So the skills in terms of research, the skills in terms of working with organizations, we work with case studies, so we're going and talking to people, collecting data, and so on. And again, this is part of what we do in terms of the research. Something which I want to highlight is that we sometimes have this PhD collaboration, so for research faculty based on partner institutions, so maybe for some of the faculty here might be interested in doing a PhD or continuing a PhD, we do offer those facilities of having dual supervision, of people doing a doctorate at their home institution, but also having support from ASTON. If anyone is interested, I know we were talking yesterday about the doctorate, but if anyone else is interested, I will be happy to talk to you. And we have always offered some of the online offerings, but we are now moving to a more structure with a partnership with a provider called KIPA, and we offer a number of degrees online, mostly online. So, and here would be more than saying, well, this is what we do. It's more maybe asking from you what you do, because this is something which we are in this form relatively new. So we want to find out what experience you have. So how do we provide the same sort of experience we provide our students on campus and develop those skills so that people that are doing our courses online will still have that edge, that distinctiveness that ASTON provides. So I mean, if you have any experience, we were talking yesterday about some of the online programs that you have here, so I'd be very interested in finding out what's it that you do. Again, so this is part of trying to have that widening, so have summer programs of bringing people in for a few weeks just to have a sample of what it is to study at ASTON. We do this a lot for people who, so those students, say, who are from traditional backgrounds that haven't been to university in the family, and to say, well, come and taste what studying at ASTON is like, trying to get them enthused about coming to study with us. And we also have a professional mentoring scheme, where we have business professionals come and do one-to-one mentoring to our students. So they help them to develop their skills, they help them to maybe talk their strategies, and making sure that they can, for example, go into work and nail an interview or gain the place that they want. I have a small short video here that I want to show you. Okay. ¿Cómo le hacemos para que...?
My name is Tony Horrocks. I work for IBM as Technical Sales Manager, and I'm also a member of the ASTON Business School Advisory Board.
I joined this game because it seemed like a really rare opportunity to get contact with someone who's in the industry and who has so much experience that I can learn from, and therefore I would stand out.
So I joined the scheme because as a board member for the business school, it's a very tangible way for all the board members to contribute directly to high potential students here in the business school like Monica. I enjoy mentoring. I do it inside IBM, and it's good to do it here. It's nice to be able to give back some experience from industry, and great to see a positive result with Monica getting the job.
Well, before the meeting, what we did is we checked, I found Tony on Twitter, and I tweeted him that I'm looking forward to meeting him, and I brought my CV with me, and the highlight as well for me was that I thought that my CV was really good, but what Tony really helped me to clearly understand is that having a good and great CV is really not enough if you want to be noticed when you're applying. So he helped me to really make my CV different, which I think led me to definitely getting a job.
I think the relationships work because, in my experience, that a mentoring relationship works if the mentee drives it. And Monica's been quite driven in making sure that we have topics to talk about. She's well prepared for the meetings. So I feel we can get straight down to looking at the issues that she's trying to address. And mentoring is never about telling; it's about helping the mentee reach their own conclusions.
So because I was always prepared for the meetings, I feel like Tony has lots of experience and lots of really great interest, and he has experience in Korea and in the technical bits that I'm quite interested in. able to really learn a lot, and he helped me to think about things that I haven't before, which led me to finding answers myself.
I think one last comment. I think mentoring is really important to help people expand their network. And I think in business, investing time in your network is about the most important thing you can do. Because you not only extend your network with the mentor, but you also tap into their network. And I think it's really, really helpful.
As you can see there, so some of the things we do with mentoring. Now, Tony Horrocks is works at IBM. He's part of the Watson team. So you can see the experience that, so the project that for that student had someone that was at really high level in the organization, and to help them sort of navigate that process is very, very valuable. The time. Okay, in terms of research and impact, I've shown this yesterday, but basically what we're trying to do is research which is impactful. And I put this here as well because one of the things we do at ASTON is that those three pillars aren't separate from each other. Okay, we use one of them to help the other. So we use our research to inform our teaching. Okay? So Prashanta will talk to you later about the different ways in which we collaborate with companies, with SMEs. And so we use those cases when we're teaching in our modules. We have a number of research centers. You can see here, so that's my center. Are you in ERC?
International Business and Entrepreneurship.
All right. All right. So we have a number of, so we are focused on a number of different research centers trying to develop critical mass within those centers. And we'll be using that for informing our teaching and our research. Yeah, I'm just going to just briefly just go to this. Anna's going to go into detail about this program. So this program we have for supporting organizations. This is for organizations. This is for students in terms of supporting them on their entrepreneurship. But Anna is going to talk to you about more detail. Finally, this is a community engagement. So how do we work with industry? This is again part of creating that ASTON experience. So working either as a student or as a member of faculty with organizations is going to help us to create those skills to be in contact with the needs of those organizations. I'm just going to go briefly to some of the ways, the things we do, and we might maybe again sort of try to find out whether you have something similar here. These two first, I mean, they are different programs, but they are very similar, so that's why we put them together. The first one is called Knowledge Exchange and Enterprise Network, KEEN, and the second is Knowledge Transfer Partnership, KTP. It's basically, these are programs which are about industry and universities working together on projects that are useful for those organizations. And the way in which this works is that they hire a graduate, so someone who has just finished their degree. It's actually hired by the university, is employed by the university, but they work at the company. So we have here the three ways. So we have the associate, which is that student, we have the business, and we have the University of College. And what we try to do is try to work on those programs. I mean, we have had a few of those in the past. Looking at, for example, sort of process improvement in our case. There are a number of examples here of different companies which we have worked with. Most of them are going to be sort of smaller companies, focused on helping those SMEs. And Prashanta will give you later some examples of some of the work we have done with those organizations. But it is a very good program because this is something which, so the company pays between 33 and 50% of the cost of that graduate, and then the government pays the difference. So this is something which it helps those organizations, which they might not have the money to hire that graduate. Obviously, it's not free because they would appreciate more if they contribute something. But something which we've always find going to these companies is we know we have a problem. They are SMEs. We know we have a problem, but we don't have the time to stop and analyze it and solve it. And this is what this associate does. They work there depending on the type of project, so it would be sort of 6 to 12 months skin or 6 months to 3 years if it's a KTP, and they work with this company many times. After they finish the project, then they get hired by those companies as well. We have case PhD student awards in which half of the money or part of the money comes from the research councils, basically the government, and part of the money comes from the organization, and this is about doing research on a topic that is going to be useful for that company. So it might be, we had the past people working on, for example, I have some colleagues who did their PhD this way, they did materials development, okay? A bit more technical if you want, but they were working in a lab and they use this type of collaboration. And the good thing about these collaborations is that you not only have the students or the graduates working in the organization, but you also have access to the organization have access to the expertise of the university. Okay, so you have access to people like Prashant, that is sort of someone who's working in his field, and they will help them. Help the student, help the organization solve their problems. But also for us, it's very good because we have access to the organization, we have access to data, we have access to the problems that they have, and they're useful for our own research. We have something on innovation budget, innovation budget. This is something which is a sort of consultancy model. Again, something which the government, is it government or European Commission? I can't remember. One of either UK government or the European Commission, they put some money towards consultancy. So a company has a problem, they can access, so they can, if they put up £2,500, then these vouchers will match that to take it to a value of 5,000, and then they can use that as consultancy from people in universities, from professors, from lecturers that are experts in that area. Obviously, you can see that this is attractive because it's not as expensive as a consultant. A consultant in the UK will normally be probably £1,000 to £1,500 a day. So these rates will get probably about sort of 10 days in terms of consultancy from a academic. And there's some of the examples of projects which you can do. There's a testimonials engineering company in Birmingham. It's established in 1922, it's quite old. And by using these vouchers, they secured a long-term contract with the Department of Defense that goes until 2048. So that's a real difference that is happening. And this is something which colleagues who work with that organization, they can use that for teaching to describe sort of what the problems were, how they went about it. And that gives our students the opportunity to learn from real world. Okay, so in summary, we try to develop those skills that will give our students that advantage. We try to develop skills that will help them to go into jobs. Not only the technical aspects, not only the knowledge about the particular topic, whether it's marketing or law or accounting. We try to develop all other skills. We try to bring together our 3 pillars. So we use the research to inform the teaching. We use our community engagement to improve our research. We use our teaching because we also do teaching for these organizations. So we sometimes do executive development or program for them to say, well, we are going to, if they have a particular issue. So we were working with hard sites the lens manufacturers, so the cameras. And they want to have some training on business analytics, so their people can do, because they have lots of data now coming from each one of the opticians in the country of what lenses are used and so on. So they want to have their skills within the organization for them to analyze the data. So we're going to do the first analysis of that data, and then they're going to be they're going to train them on that. And we have a wide variety of programs and initiatives, but we would like to hear from you what your experiences are and any ideas that you can give us for us to take back, and obviously talk to you and share it in more detail. Contact details there if you want to give me a shout or ask something. I'll be around anyway. And you probably will have our contacts. So thank you very much. Any questions, comments before I get you to work? Comments? No? Okay, so what I want to do is have a small activity. Maybe try to get into groups. If you can get into the group that you were put together yesterday, that'd be great. Because then we'll have someone from organization, someone from the faculty and some students. I wish just to have a discussion about some of those needs that those organizations have at the moment. Okay? So what are the issues that they're facing? And map that to whatever is being thought within those. I know that this is sort of quite diverse group of students. So if someone has, I know for example that you are already working with someone, so let's say, well, how does that program that, sorry, I forgot the name. Patty has, how does that map to the things that we are doing at the moment here in your degree, and how can we help that organization, but also how can that problem be used to develop those skills within the organization. So try to do that for 15 minutes and then we come back and finish. Any questions before we do that? Yes.
Te la voy a hacer en español.
Sí, está bien.
El MBA, ¿tienes algún, bueno, ASTON tiene algún modelo como dual en donde pueda estar una parte en línea y otra parte allá, o es nada más en línea o presencial?
No creo que tengamos la combinación. Déjame investigar bien, pero creo que no. It's an MBA, but if we have sort of mix, do have online and then have. No. Lo que sí es que los que son en línea, dependiendo de la modalidad, tienen ciertas. Hay unos que son completamente en línea, que nunca te aparecen, y hay otros que tienen ciertos temas residenciales, van por 3-4 días cada 4 meses o algo así, y puedes entonces tener la.
Oye, ¿y costos?
Ay, no me lo sé así de la cabeza, pero ¿qué es el MBA?
El MBA.
¿Cómo es el MBA? ¿Ah? 20? Around 20,000 pounds. ¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Esta detección de necesidad de las empresas, obviamente la empresa dice que tengo esa necesidad, ya ve la forma de que estudiantes recién egresados o si requiere alguna consultoría especializada para resolver esta necesidad. Pero ¿cómo se hace más eficiente o ágil el detectar, o las empresas hacen una convocatoria, es a través de sus asociaciones, o es directamente el contacto de empresa con la universidad, o cómo es? Porque bueno, si se requieren apoyos, ahí normalmente entra una parte de la universidad, otra parte del gobierno. ¿Cómo se hace hacer ágil esta detección de necesidad que lo saquen las empresas?
Es un muy buen punto. Tenemos una oficina que está encargada de partnerships, alianzas con organizaciones. Entonces ellos van y visitan organizaciones o organizan, por ejemplo, desayunos donde vienen y alguno de los expertos expone algún tópico. Tenemos también algunos de esos programas de los que va a hablar Ana después, donde tenemos grupos de compañías que vienen y van por cierto entrenamiento, y estamos siempre pendientes de tratar de identificar nuestras necesidades. Por ejemplo, pueden venir porque tienen entrenamiento de mercadotecnia, pero hablando con ellos te das cuenta que también tienen problemas en operaciones o en estrategia. El Reino Unido, una de las ventajas del Reino Unido es que hay mucha colaboración entre empresas y universidades, pero aún así es difícil, no siempre es tan eficiente como pudiera ser. Muchas veces viene así por contactos. Por ejemplo, cuando estaba hablando acerca del Advisory Board, como el consejo consultivo que nos ayuda a la estrategia, el que es ahora como el presidente de ese consejo, trabajaba en una compañía de trenes. Uno de mis colegas empezó a hablar con él y dice, no, pues es que tenemos problemas porque si hay disrupciones en las vías de tren, nos causa muchos caos y tenemos que avisar a la gente qué es lo que pasa, porque están en las estaciones, están esperando el tren y no saben si tú tienes algo que podamos hacer. Y a partir de eso hemos tenido 2 o 3 proyectos con valor de cerca de $500,000 de libras, en los que hemos desarrollado sistemas para comunicarse mejor entre las instituciones. Desarrollamos un juego de mesa para enseñar a su personal cómo reaccionar y cómo comunicarse. Entonces hay diferentes escenarios, por ejemplo, que si viene alguien que, no sé, una muchachita que está viajando sola en la noche, qué es lo que tiene que hacer, si viene alguien que está en silla de ruedas. Entonces desarrollamos todo. Es mucho de tratar nosotros mismos también de ir y hablar con compañías. Pero por eso parte de la investigación es eso, de que muchas de las que somos estas compañías, pues vamos y hablamos con ellos y tratamos de entender qué es lo que tienen. Pero esa oficina también es muy importante.
Gracias.
Perdón si me expandí. ¿Alguna otra pregunta?
¿Cómo era la parte de los veranos en ASTON? O sea, nosotros podemos ir como un verano.
Sí, son 3 semanas.
¿Y podemos tomar los talleres o hay ciertos talleres?
Hay ciertos talleres que se ofrecen, entonces, pero generalmente son muy interesantes. Se ofrecen para demostrar qué es lo que hacemos en ASTON. Entonces, tenemos colegas que trabajan en mercadotecnia y te enseñan, ¿no?, todos los trucos que usan cuando venden. No estoy muy familiarizado con eso, pero te puedes investigar también. ¿Sí?
Si gustan, iniciamos con la actividad de grupos, 15 minutos.